Welcome back to Data Center News Asia, coming at you from not Asia. How, like you're in a sort of like 1970s Bond villains, kind of the roofing and it's very like gold member.
Yeah, Swiss Hotel in the Alps, that's the decor they go for.
That's exactly the sort of place where someone would have tried to kill James Bond in the 70s.
Yeah, it would be perfect for that. There's all sorts of caves and hidden caverns and weird things in this hotel.
Fantastic. Tell you where there's no caves or hidden caverns. That's Sydney. Nice, hilly, but there is lots of flat land around it that you can develop data centers on, which is exactly what Macquarie are apparently doing with a new bit of land that they have bought. Or I should say that they have exercised their option to buy. So this may have been one that we mentioned before. So this is Macquarie DC or Macquarie Data Centres, not to be confused with Macquarie Technology, Macquarie Capital, Macquarie Real Estate Management. And yeah, this is what you got on this one. So this is Talavera Road, and it looks like a pretty big, punchy site.
Yeah, Macquarie Data Centres develop a 200 megawatt data center campus in that kind of light industrial area, which you mentioned. Exercise the rights of completion is due pretty imminently, as I understand. 170 million USD for this parcel. Macquarie Data Centres, not all, but a lot of their capacity is in that North Sydney AZ, which supports both Microsoft and AWS. So this will be a very sought after parcel or piece of capacity, I would imagine. What's interesting here is all of the community stuff or the partnerships that Macquarie Data Centres are keen to stress. So it's going to be a community garden, an outdoor gallery, and they're going to be working closely with Macquarie University. And I think these are the kind of initiatives which I think people need to take in order to ensure that kind of social license piece is met. But yeah, it's an interesting one. And well done to the Macquarie Data Centres team.
Yes, I did also spot the 1 acre intergenerational community park for the City of Ryde residents. But this is something not to be sniffed at. There's obviously increasing importance on community engagement, and it's good to see we've used Australia so far as the benchmark for people in Asia to be looking at and going, okay, how do we handle these community issues? How do we make sure people are understanding why governments around the world and companies around the world need these data centers to be developed? And part of that is also making them part of the local community and part of a community people want to be there, rather than just some big ugly grey building that makes noise and causes pollution. So this looks like it won't be one of those. And yeah, good job to David Hurst and the Macquarie Data Centres team on that part. Another Australian story here. So this is the NeoCloud Sharon AI. So they have announced, so these NeoClouds is nice. They're a lot more public about their deals than traditional data center operators used to be. And so they've announced this as a $1.32 billion compute contract, which I'm hoping they've reported it in the article, because I'm going to have no, in terms of how they would do that on like this sort of 3+1 tokens and things that they would sell as opposed to racks and power. But that looks to be a pretty substantial deal. 5 years. This is a 3+2 or 4+1 structure. And this will be in New Zealand.
Yes, I think listeners can probably glean that we haven't read the stories as well as we might have done. But yeah, I think the highlight here is New Zealand. So New Zealand is often touted itself and has been generally marketing itself as a potential place for these AI workloads, just given the availability of renewables and things like that. Obviously, Microsoft and AWS are there with their regions, or in the process of setting up their regions. But yeah, this looks like the first certainly significant AI workload to go into New Zealand, and expected revenue from the contract is expected to start in the first and second quarters of 2027. Fairly imminent, this. It must be a development which is under construction or certainly in the development stage. But yeah, it looks like New Zealand would be a pretty significant chunk of capacity coming in here.
Yes, one would have to guess that this would be either Datacom or CDC or Data4, one of the ones that is already under construction, taking this down. And they have said it's with one of the AI labs, so we can also speculate there. But there's an increasing number of these. So the speculation becomes more difficult over time. But yeah, interesting stuff from Sharon AI there. And I don't know, we already missed the W Media New Zealand event. I should have got down to Auckland this year. It is picking up a bit down there, isn't it? One market that is, I was going to segue in with picking up, but it's India. India is still a massive market, and the stories are coming out every week. We got a couple there this week, but we'll start with, so this is interesting, HCL, which is one of the described as Indian IT giant, but they are one of the biggest, I don't know, tech management consulting systems integration. You put HCL up there with Wipro and Accenture and these days IBM and EDS sort of companies, and they are building, and not for self-use, they've described this as a data center business, which they're investing $364 million US into in India.
Yeah, it doesn't go into a huge amount more detail than that. It says 50 megawatts. We do have the location, or we 90% sure we have the location of this particular site. Yeah, but it's interesting. It sounds like this could be an extension of their managed service play, which obviously I suppose it's their bread and butter, but we shall see. It also mentioned in the article last year they did enter into a strategic alliance with AMD. So I don't know, it could be one of these kind of deals where if you need, as part of your managed services, if you need some AI compute, you go to these guys and they have a 50 megawatt facility for you. So could be that.
This is one of the things that we discussed with Serene Nair last week on In Conversation, was some of the consultancies, enterprise use cases where it's possible for a company like this, if they've got an agreement with AMD, if they can source chips and they have their own capacity and they can go straight to an enterprise customer and say, hey, why don't you do your own application, chatbot, whatever it is that you're trying to build via us rather than on the cloud. So there's lots of different ways to skin this particular cat. Speaking of enterprise use, STT has also inaugurated a new data center in India. This is in Jaipur, and this is 6 megawatts, which is by Indian scale not really going to make big waves, but Jaipur is a bit of a edge location, right? It's not a big market.
No, not currently. Like Jaipur, for anyone not familiar with Indian geography, I'm not going to claim to be an expert, but it's in the direction of Delhi, so in North India. But I think we're going to see a lot more of these kind of announcements in the coming years. Like Jaipur is significant population to serve there, and there is a fair amount of tech industry, etc., up there. So I think this is just the start of these, I suppose, second tier cities, if you want to call them that, getting deployments. And let's not forget, a couple of years ago, 6 megawatts is a pretty significant development. I think, like I said, we'll see more of these developments going into these cities outside of Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, etc.
Yeah, and just a reminder, STT's India division, STT India, has more than 400 megawatts of IT loads in operation and development phases across India. And obviously that's part of the broader STT group, which was fully acquired by KKR and Singtel in their sort of joint thingy earlier in February. Still no official word, but rumors are growing as to how that's going to shake out, what the brand will be called and who will be in charge of it. But let's see. Let's go to North Asia, shall we?
I missed a big AWS story, by the way.
Oh, AWS. Oh, yeah, sorry, I missed an India one. Let's do that quickly.
Foundation stone laid for AWS data center in Telangana, India, which is basically outside Hyderabad, I should say, outskirts of Hyderabad. Their data center campus in Bharat Future City. Essentially, this is one of their self-build projects here, which will serve kind of the central India South region. It's going to take 2 years, but anyway, they've kicked off that project in Chandan Valley or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to Japan.
This foundation stone ceremony is, I guess, is a little bit after the groundbreaking, but maybe this is a more important one in India. We'll have to get some construction guys on the blower for that one. Yeah, sorry. So back to Japan. So we've got a new data center. This is pretty punchy in size, 140 megawatts, and it's a partnership between a Japanese consortium who I've never heard of called Noetra, Noetra, Noetra. But they are working with Nvidia to deploy 140 megawatts worth of the Vera Rubin chips, which are the ones that are the current latest, usually supposedly pretty hard to get hold of, and there's a bit of a queue for them, and they've got almost 14,000 of these. Sorry, I'm counting the CPUs. They've got 27,500 GPUs and 14,000 CPUs to make this facility.
Yeah, this is obviously an interesting story, and like it's kind of shows what's happening behind the scenes in Japan. Like Japan is in some ways still a pretty insular market, and it's only once you're there you're getting visibility. Again, like this is something that we've been across for quite a while. Didn't actually realize the scale of the number of GPUs they were able to secure, and doesn't give any timeline into when they will be. All of these will be rolled out. Is it imminent or is it over a couple of years? But one interesting thing, and not really data center related, but Japan AI's robotics strategy aims the country to capture more than 30% of the global AI robotics market by 2040. So I think this is them trying to future proof themselves and be leaders in that particular data center supported industry.
Yeah, makes total sense to the Japanese. They've always had a big lead in a lot of the physical hardware manufacturing. And now, if the software becomes or the compute becomes commoditized, then robots could be their way back to the top. I look forward to seeing the Honda thing doing the backflips again. That was cool. Speaking of Japanese companies, this one's in Thailand. This is NTT doing their groundbreaking in Chonburi. This is Bangkok 4. They posted up on LinkedIn. This is a groundbreaking ceremony. I assume they'll do the foundation stone shortly after.
Yeah, not sure if the foundation stone's a thing in Thailand. Yeah, but NTT been in the market for quite a while with kind of, I would call wholesale style facilities. So in the 20, I think there are a couple of campuses are smaller. I think the biggest one's 20-ish in that kind of range. But this is their first hyperscaler AI facility. So we reported in tail end of last year, maybe January, that they had signed that PPA 100 megawatt deal with the Grim Power.
Yeah, Grim, interestingly, also the partner for Digital Edge, who are also building some pretty significant facilities in Thailand. So, I mean, Grim is a big Thai conglomerate, and we've also seen Grim Center Patana partnering with other people as well. So I guess there's a limited number of Thai conglomerates to go around for everyone. And then there's another one from Singapore and Southeast Asia. This is Capital Land selling the former Singtel facility, which they then bought and put under the Capital Land Ascendus REIT CLAR. And this has been sold for 200 million Sing dollars, which is apparently double the price that they acquired the data center for in March 2005, but they haven't listed the buyer on the report, so we'll not say anything.
Yeah, again, this is like we've been talking a lot about capital recycling and all that whole kind of area in the last couple of weeks. And our conversation with Serene, which will be out in, I don't know, a month or so, we'll go into a lot more detail. But yeah, as per William Tay, Capital Land Ascendus REIT Management CEO, I think this quote kind of sums it up nicely what's happening. So this divestment underscores our disciplined approach to portfolio optimization and capital recycle. It will enhance Clara's financial flexibility to invest in a word I've never seen before, accretive opportunities, and strengthen the quality of our portfolio. Do you know that word? ACC or ETIVE?
New one to me. And also, I can't fully hear. Your sound has gone quiet again. I think there's one story that I was missing from my list as well.
There's one interesting one. Interesting one could be nothing. E-commerce platform Polybelly exploring AI data center pivot. So they've signed MOUs for data center projects in Thailand and Indonesia. This is an Indonesian e-commerce platform. I'm not sure if there's anything in this, if they would be bringing any value to the table, but that was one which people can take a look at. And then GMI Cloud, which is the Taiwanese neocloud, I guess you would call them. They're seeking a loan of 635 million, I should say, to basically get GPU capacity in, I'm guessing, Taiwan. Yes, in Taoyuan, Taiwan. So yeah, there's stuff going on outside of the core markets as well.
There you go. Happy whatever day this is coming out, Wednesday. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.